The other thing, so I mean, there was a lot on the ballot everywhere. I think you guys had a massive bond proposition on Travis County ballot. We had a bunch of bond propositions as well, but one of the biggest propositions we had was Proposition A, which would allow Houston City Council members to finally place something on the agenda, a power that is still currently only reserved for the mayor until January 1st. And it passed with an 83% approval from voters. And this was my proposition, and I'm very proud of it. Thank you. Thank you. I was waiting for that.
Was there any organized opposition? And
no, there was. The mayor opposed it, and he spoke poorly of it. And then some other former council members were out speaking poorly of it because they said it would make council meetings long. And there were some Republicans who claimed that it would allow Democrats to defund the police, which the way that defunding the police has a stranglehold on the Republican Party that we just cannot let that go. Anyway, so no unified opposition, but there were people out there who were opposed to it, who were speaking very poorly of it.
How many people are on your city council?
16.
That is a lot. And so I mean, that would be my guess as to like a downside of it is that I guess the city of Austin, Michael can confirm this, is 4 people have to agree to put something on the agenda. And sometimes we have these agendas that are, 190 items long and they take forever. And there's no possible way that anybody on city council knows enough detail about 190 items to do anything. If you have 16, it only takes 1.
No, it takes 3. It takes 3.
Oh, it takes 3. Okay.
It takes 3, yeah.
But before it was just the mayor. You had to.
Just the mayor. And if you wanted anything from your district, like, a community center, a stop sign, whatever, you had to go through the mayor to get that on the agenda. And often the mayor especially this mayor, would withhold things like that if you didn't take a vote in his favor for whatever else that he wanted. And so you had a lot of council members who were like trying to play this game of being on his side, but also holding true to their values and then trying to get things for their district. And it was a little bit of a mess. And so, there's still a lot of issues. Like, we're still a strong mayor form of government. This is just kind of a one chip away at the block. But we'll see. It might make city council meetings long. Right now, they're at most like an hour and a half. Like, so,
What? An hour and a half?
Yeah, usually. Public session is on Wednesday, and that'll usually run maybe 2 hours if there's a lot of people coming to testify. Then, public session's on Tuesday. Wednesday morning, they meet it for council, and it's, usually they're out by, 9 to 11 at the longest, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m.
Our city council meetings last forever.
Yeah.
Our commissioners' court meetings last forever, like all day, 10 to 6.
Yeah.
That's because Lena Hidalgo has got a stranglehold.
So that there's the one difference here that's kind of is important is that Houston has strong mayor form of government. In Austin have a city manager form of government. So the things that are on the agenda for Austin are all brought by the city manager, whereas in Houston it's all set by the mayor. And the number of items that come from council is probably maybe 10 at most. And their, fee waivers for their neighborhood event or their, some march on the Capitol for their favorite progressive group. Like, there's not a ton of council items. They're all coming from city management. It's like, we got to spend money on this thing. And there was a move to move Austin to strong mayor a few years back. It wasn't quite as.
That was like a year ago, 2 years ago.
2021.
Oh, okay.
You want to hear You want to hear something funny about that? I, in principle, am for strong mayor form of government. I think you're only as good as the person that's running your organization. And if he's elected versus appointed, I guess elected is preferable. But I ran the campaign against it. And we beat
Adler at the time.
Yeah, we beat this. We won 84-16. And it was really the thing people didn't like was the veto. Was the veto power that was going to be given to the mayor. That was a big sticking point. But on principle, I'm like, if you elect someone that's awesome or horrible, you're going to get an awesome or horrible city government. And
see, if we were transitioning from, like, if we had city manager, I would definitely opt for strong mayor. Like, I don't like city manager simply because, like you said, it's just an unelected bureaucrat. And I know that in San Antonio for a while, I can't remember what her name was, but there's a long-serving city manager who had amassed like a ton of power and was just like the main power broker in the city. I think this was like up until somewhat recently. But yeah, so we'll see. The mayor still has a ton of power, appoint department directors, appoints committee chairs, pro tem, organizes council, oversees everything. It's not going to change a ton. It's just going to kind of start to chip away at it a bit. We'll see.
How many Republicans do you have on the Houston City Council?
Right now, we have like 3.5.
Okay, so the number 3 was very specific.
Well, so technically, the city charter allows certain actions by 3 council members, but also there are 3 council districts that will always be Republican. It just so happens that is the case.
All right. Well, congratulations, Charles.
Thanks.
I'm proud of you. You did a great job.
Thank you. I also want to talk about some of these bond propositions too, because I know you guys had a big one in Travis County, $276 million.
Two bond propositions passed in Travis County, Prop A and Prop B. Prop A was about $250 million for streets and mobility projects, widen some streets, stuff like that. I kind of doubt there's going to be. I mean, I know there's going to be some street widening and making it easier for cars, but I think it's going to be. They'll probably try to do some bike lanes and stuff like that here and there. But then the other proposition was another $250 million or so for parkland acquisition, and $200 million of that goes to buying new parkland. And Travis County has a lot of parkland already, so I don't know why we need more. But it kind of seems to me like that's not going to help with the affordability crisis. If all of this land is being bought up that could be built into housing, I know Charles hates that idea because he wants everyone to live on top of each other. But it's going to take away some of that land, some of that opportunity. Prices are going to go up, right?
I agree. I'm a big fan of sprawl. That's why they should not be clawing up all this land.
You're
guys have that
sprawl?
Huh?
You're a fan of it?
I am. Yes, I'm a fan of sprawl. I'm
a fan of sprawl. I feel like now we're like best friends.
Well, I mean, but we still disagree on parking minimums and minimum lot sizes. So we're
yeah, we do. Maybe we're not best friends, Charles.
But I think that's a good point, because all the people who probably supported that are also the people talking about affordability in Austin and don't draw the connection that stuff like that makes it unaffordable. Toronto has the same thing where they have like 2 million acres of green space surrounding the city, and they refuse to let any of the provinces build on it. And so you just have everybody building in Toronto, and it's just getting more and more and more expensive. And it's going to be like, I think it's like the 3rd most expensive housing market out of like the top 8 countries or something.
Well, it also forces the density issue, because if the Travis County is buying parkland around, I mean, there's not parkland to be bought in the city of Austin. It just doesn't exist. There's plenty of parks in Austin, whatever. They're just going to be buy around the city of Austin, and you can't build out anymore. There's not going to be any more sprawl. So it's going to have to be more dense. And if the neighborhoods keep winning, like they should be winning, then all of this equity transit oriented developments and VMU2s and all this crap where they're not telling anybody that they're changing their properties, those are going to keep losing in court. And then the city of Austin is going to be frozen in amber. And I know urbanists fucking hate that. They hate it. And they use that term all the time. Cities can't be frozen in amber. Well, maybe the city's frozen. Like it did pretty well. People really like Austin, and it's pretty nice. So maybe it should be frozen in amber a little bit, right? Keep those large lot sizes.
You just got to see how people want to live. That's the thing. That's what they don't want. That's the urbanists that you speak of, which is not all urbanists. They want to dictate how you live. Huh?
Are you an urbanist?
I mean, I'm like a free market urbanist. Like, I don't know where you're going to go with that. But the urbanists that you speak of in particular, they want to dictate how people live. They don't want to look at how the market or how people choose to live and then react accordingly, which is why they do things like that, push things like building all this buying all this green space and forcing everyone to live inside and blah, 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 blah. But if they just listen to what people wanted to do, I think it would be a much better solution for the most part. I mean, some people want to do some bad things.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do. The parks thing is, the city already, there was some report years ago that said the city doesn't have enough money to maintain the existing park system. And then they're just going and getting more. It's just, everybody wants park, and the city, they do these, I don't know if you do this in Houston, but we do these like master plans in a silo. It's like the bicycle master plan that just came out that said we need to spend $1 billion on bicycles, or the park master plan that says every house needs to be within a quarter mile of a park, and we have these like ambitious plans that in a silo are like ideal, but then when you get into a place where there's competing priorities and you have limited resources, we operate as if we have unlimited tax revenue, and we don't. So what ends up happening is we get these parks, and then homeless people start moving in. We don't have money to maintain them or enforce rules, and it's just, who's going to vote against parks though?
Me. So this, I'm glad you brought up the bike plan, because it's insane that people think this way, that $1 billion on a bike plan is wonderful. It's great. It's money well spent. There's no amount of other people's money that these people are willing to spend to get you out of your car. And when you don't get out of your car, they'll call you an asshole or something. Like this 2014 bicycle plan, I guess they did it because the city of Austin did a study, and they found that 17% of Austinites are the ones that they talked to or whatever. So maybe 10 people said they currently felt safe on biking on city streets. So in 2014, only 17% felt safe. But 55 to 60% would feel safe if the city provided enough protected bike lanes and urban trails. I might have said yes. Yeah, if you provide more bike lanes and urban trails, I might feel safe. That doesn't mean I'm going to fucking bike. Hypothetically, I would feel safe doing it, but I'm still going to drive my car. Why are you spending $1 billion on this, you assholes?
And also, like, I feel like I ride. I don't ride my bike as much anymore, but I would ride on city streets.
You're an adult.
No, it's fun. We have trails along our bayous, and so it's nice. And so I would ride in the street, and I felt safe as long as you adhere to the rules of the road. But I also encounter a lot of cyclists who will blow through stop signs, and in a four-way intersection or something, or if it's not, they have the stop sign, it's not a stop on the other side, just kind of blow through. And yeah, you're not going to feel safe when you're riding like that. And I've seen a lot of cyclists who do kind of just take it in their own hands. And so I think it depends on who you're talking to and how many people you're talking to.
Charles, I will say you cannot expect bicyclists to follow traffic laws. That's insane. You're going to piss off the entire bicycling community, and that's a huge portion of our audience. So I will just say right now that bicyclists do whatever the fuck you want. You're right.
Yeah,
but as a former cyclist, I know what it's like. I would blow through stop signs and red lights all the time. But I was I got hit by a car once. Fine, my fault, their fault. Who cares? It's part of the game. But there's a reason why, like, I wouldn't stop at a stop sign, right? I'm trying to like avoid making more traffic behind me by slowing down. And I'm a cyclist, so I can't accelerate quite the same way that a car could. Like, there's genuine reasons why a cyclist wouldn't follow some laws sometimes. But at the end of the day, it's for cars, and I tried to respect that and would try my best to make decisions that were best for cars.
Fair.
Yeah. It's madness. We have leaky pipes all over the city. We don't have enough cops. Like, we have homeless people sleeping in green belts. Like, we got to have some sense of priorities here, folks. And $1 billion on a bike plan is not even coming anywhere near the top of the priority list. But
there's a quote from a friend of ours, Jack Craver.
Oh,
just to be clear, $1 billion for a world-class bike network isn't it's a bargain.
Wow.
Bargain, guys. It's a bargain.
Oh,
can't miss this opportunity.
Craver.
I don't know if he was. I know that he rides his bike, and that's fine. And, I'm not going to pick on him specifically, but just this past summer, I don't know how many people were riding their bike. Zero people. Unless, like, maybe earlier in the morning on 360, you'd see a cyclist, Lance Armstrong wannabe, great. Caitlin Armstrong wannabe, maybe. And they would, that's great. You're doing it for exercise, but for commuting, that it just doesn't happen. And then it's too cold and wet right now. Like, no one's fucking doing this, and they're not going to. All right, I'm sorry. Go on. Jack River, you're great.
I'm gonna get us off of bikes. Yeah, we don't need to take Jack seriously. He loves bicycle paths for what. But I'm gonna switch gears. Charles,
that's a great segue from bikes.
Eric Johnson. Did he won re-election or is he in a runoff? And then down in Houston, Sheila Jackson Lee and John Whitmire headed to a runoff. Isn't that right?
Yeah. Well, no, Eric Johnson wasn't up, was he? I thought he just was sworn in again like a couple months ago.
Well, we can figure that. I'll Google that real quick. Charles, why don't you tell us why you like Sheila Jackson Lee so much
for mayor?
So yes, Senator Whitmire and Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee are in a runoff. It's interesting too because all the polling over the summer showed them kind of neck and neck, 32, 33, 34, 33 coming in. And it was a wider spread. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I think it was like 46, 30. No, not 46, 34. I think it was 36, 43. And so, yeah, so Whitmire's leading. And I don't know how Sheila comes back from that because I think she's kind of like hit her cap. And at the end of the race, she was just hitting Republicans constantly for hitting Whitmire for having some Republican donors and kind of making these people out to be MAGA Republicans. And so Republicans weren't likely to vote for her before. They're certainly less likely to vote for her now after they've been attacked for the past couple of weeks. And yeah, I just don't know. I mean, the mayor, it's interesting. Mayor Turner endorsed her the day after the election. And I was like, that probably would have gave her a little bit of a boost she might have needed before, but okay. So he endorsed her, and I mean, we'll see. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think Whitmire's got this in the bag.
So is she getting the progressive vote, and he's kind of this center left and right and center?
Yeah, so she's got the progressive vote and like the older African Americans for the most part. He's got the urban Republicans who live in the city. He's got the kind of generic Democrats, and he's got a lot of the Hispanic vote because of, one, because I think he's been involved in that community a lot, but also Sylvia Garcia and Carol Alvarado have been like really out there for him throughout the entire campaign. And so he's kind of got all those portions locked up. And when I say urban Republican, I more or less meant the business community. And so yeah, he's got all those locked up, and her base is kind of tight. And also there are a lot of city council runoffs. However, none of the predominantly black districts have only one has a runoff. And so you're not having any contested races in there that's going to draw more black people out of those districts. So that would have theoretically given Sheila another boost in the runoff. And I just don't see that happening now.
Did she resign from her House seat?
No, neither of them have to resign because the runoff's on December 9th and filing deadlines, I think December 11th or 16th for their seats. So no, neither have to resign. Yeah. She will most likely run for re-election if she loses.
She's got to protect us from school choice.
Yeah. We had a somewhat similar dynamic in our last mayoral election, and there was a concerted effort on the right to get Republican voters out for Miss Mayor Kirk Watson, which put him over the edge. Yeah. And so did Busby get into a runoff, or what happened with Busby?
Yes. So Busby got into runoff. Busby was challenging one of our conservative city council members, Marian Ann Huffman, whose father, I always forget his name. He's a state rep. But yes, so he challenged her. At the end of the night, it looked like she was going to be able to pull it off. She was at like 50 point something, and then he pulled her into a runoff. The question is that there's this candidate that was in the race, this third candidate who showed up nowhere, sent out some a group sent out mailers on his behalf. He's like a complete ghost candidate, and he got a decent amount of votes from the Democrats in the district, which are few, but enough to kind of pull her down to a runoff. And so there's questions as to if this guy was even real, but now Busby and Marian Ann are in a runoff, and I assume it's going to get ugly because it was ugly in the general. And so
if he was real?
If he was a real candidate. I mean, he's a real person, we presume, okay. But if he was a real candidate.
You presume? There's questions about if he even exists?
Well, nobody's been able to actually find him. Somebody found a LinkedIn page for him, and this guy who has this picture lives in Maryland or something. So no one's been able to be like, who is this person? So he didn't show up at any forum. No one's seen him at all.
That's an interesting idea.
He issued some statements when he was reached out to by the paper every now and then, but no one's seen him or talked to him. So,
yeah,
I mean, that's a really interesting idea. We got a mayoral race next year. Just create a fake candidate. Just use some sort of AI generated image. Fake everything, and just see what they don't show up to anything. That would be awesome.
Name it Hillary Clinton, or no. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Yes, exactly. Alexandria Ocasio-Clinton.
And just have them say boilerplate statements over and over again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just really fuck up this whole election.
Like
Yeah.
Nikki Haley's, my shoe is not for fashion, it's for ammunition.
Get my daughter's name out of your voice.
Like